you guys finished with the pick stitch. That was the last one. So I'll wait for you guys to get over here. Get this little guy going right here. Now, I'm sure I'm giving you the impression that I never tie knots, so I thought I'd tie one for you. Impress you though. Oh, she actually does tie a knot. Okay. So when you do this one, it really, the back stitch and the pick stitch are the same stitch. They're just close together. So it looks like machine stitching. And so I come up and I make a small stitch and I go right in front of the stitch I just did. So when you do a whole series of this, and they're very, very close together, then it just looks like machine stitching. Oh, that was pretty awful.
So you go behind?
Yeah, you go from the back.
All right.
And
You're
it's
going from
just,
right to left still?
Yeah. I seem to always sew in that direction, right to left. So once
Go left to
I
right.
get going,
It's a mod.
am I saying it backwards?
No, I'm
Wouldn't
just
be
odd.
surprised. Okay. So what you're looking at right there, they did it bigger and closer together. I'm trying to make my stitches connect. Why can't I make them connect today?
Because we're all watching you.
Yeah, I must be. Yeah.
So we need to make them that tiny?
There, finally got it. You
Is
can
it like
make
a
them
chain stitch?
well, sort of. But basically, this is how they sewed seams before there were sewing machines. So, we're going back to the dark ages here.
And relay.
Yeah, you can relate to that, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
So it looks like sewing machine stitching. Okay, so it's tiny.
Could you show, where do you stick your needle in? Right there?
Yeah, so
All right.
right on that previous stitch.
right.
And then come up just a,
Just a little.
like 2 threads thickness of the muslin. Okay?
And the back has
Yeah.
just a lot of longer stitches.
Yeah, so it kind of looks,
A lot of longer
so they
stitches.
just connect like that.
So they have to be real.
Because in the back, it almost looks like the double width of the front stitches.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Okay. And then the next one
Cheated.
is the slip stitch. So I set up something that I could actually sew with rather than just sewing on the previous sampler. And I always do this, it's just me. I didn't make that very thick, did I? Okay. So I'm starting in because I don't like how thin my little fold was, but I'm not gonna run over the yarn and fold it more right now. We're just gonna go with what we got. Okay. So my knot is hidden up inside the fold. Did you see how I did that? Sometimes I do things without really explaining every little step. It's from years of habit. Just do it. Don't ask me how, just do it.
It's up to you to suffer and figure
I know. You have to watch it,
Figure it out. I'll
Right.
grade you.
Right. Yeah, that's right. I know, isn't that funny? Okay, so where this thread came out, I am going, I'm gonna move it out of the way so you can actually see. I take a thread, literally a thread, in the fabric. Whoops. Of course, it always has to tangle up when you want to get started. What's going on here? Here we go. Okay. So there it is. Slip stitch is the one that you will see in the patterns. And they'll say, slip stitch, that's shut. And you'll go, really? How do you slip stitch? Okay. Then you go back in the fold and you travel. So my needle is up inside that fold. If you can see that. Okay. So I'm gonna come out. You don't travel very far. When you're slip stitching, it's because you're trying to do very invisible stitching that doesn't show, and it's to hold things together. So it does need to be tiny. And then when you do the stitch, don't do it up here where you would see it. Do it kind of like almost level with the fold, and just barely catch it. So what I want you to think about is like, I'm trying to invisibly sew silk charmeuse. I should make you sew silk charmeuse, and then you begin to understand why I said that, because it's like, oh, slippery, slidey stuff is like trying to sew on water. It moves so much. Okay, so now what do I do?
Go through the fold.
Go back into the fold where it came out, exactly. So I tend to go on the back side of the fold, if that makes sense?
Yes.
Okay. Short little travel. And I'm doing this very slow so you can see it, but it really doesn't have to be such a slow process. So when you see this and it's done, you can't really even see the stitching at all because it's invisible.
Can you do it one more time?
Sure. So I came out and I go slightly below the fold, and I take a single little thread, and I think I mentioned this before. When I sew, I wear glasses because right now I have on a contact, so I can't really see what I'm doing. It's like I'm sewing blind here. So now I took that one single little stitch and I go back in where I came out, and I tend to go on the back side of the fold. So when you look at this, and I've pulled this firmly, you can't see that it's been sewn.
So the understitch is right in the same place that you came out of on the overstitch, on the top of the hem?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So you certainly don't see it from that side. Well, that one you can see. I cut it. I got 2 threads instead of 1. Okay? So slip stitch. Yay, done. Now we're going to go to the next one, which is huge for you, because this is the one that you're going to tape the roll line on your jacket, and you have to fell stitch it on. And lucky you, I got you wider tape. So see that this tape is almost twice as wide as that tape. So when you fell stitch this on, and this is a technique that you're going to be using in your classic tailored jacket, then you sew this on both sides. Now, when you sew these, it does say silk and whatever. I'm thinking for our samplers, just go ahead and use whatever you've got.
Thank you.
I'd rather save the silk for when you do it in your real jacket, and you get the silk from me for your jackets. And you're not buying silk. So don't deal with the silk thread for sewing the little samplers. Just do whatever you want. I don't care. I don't care what brand it is. It doesn't. I don't know why I tied a knot in that. It doesn't need a knot at all. So you're not going to put any knots in your fell stitching. It's not going anywhere. And okay, do I want to sew from right to left or left to right?
You don't need to
Doesn't make
pin
any
it?
difference.
You would
No.
normally pin it?
Well, you would pin it, but for our, you could just like base down the middle if you wanted to, just to keep
to
it
hold it
into
in place.
position,
Right.
so that you don't have to manipulate it. But just for the sake of demonstration, I'm not going to bother. Okay, and I'm not sewing. Okay, it's a diagonal stitch, and this time you take a little bit bigger bite. It's a little too big, but you can actually see the needle. So, like 2 threads instead of 1. You don't do it like in the slip stitch where it's really just 1 thread. You need a little bit of depth to the stitch so it's going to stick to the wool. because I'm thinking you're sewing in wool and you're doing your classic jacket. And then when you sew this, well, let me get started. Do a couple of stitches for you. Okay. You are sewing diagonally, and it will give you a straight stitch. So those are straight, semi-straight. So I go in above where that thread is. So I go right there, yeah? And when I turn, well, I have to take the stitch first. Then I go diagonal. But when you go diagonal, I want you to go down into the depth of the tape. This is a little narrow. That's better. So in other words, you're taking a pretty big bite in the tape. Are you with me on that? Okay. And it seems like it's very slow, but once you get going, it's really fast.
So at that
and
point-
so the second stitch, or when I'm starting this, I'm going in just above where that line is right there.
And that's where you're only trying to pick 2 threads, then you pop out, and then
Yeah.
most of the rest of that thread is just on the back side
you
of the
do a
bias tape.
diagonal travel, and you catch that depth of the tape, not too close to the
Right.
edge. Like that was too close, and this is further away. So once you get going, it's really pretty fast. But it makes a straight stitch. Can you see how the stitch is straight up and down? Okay. So you're sewing diagonally, and it will make a straight stitch. And you want them roughly between an eighth and a fourth. Can be a little further than what they've got right there. Oops, I got a knot. That's because I didn't wax it. Right? Now, if you wax your thread, it won't knot as much. It'll probably still knot to some degree, but if you wax it, it won't. Okay, so now my stitch is all wonky there. Great. Looks like it can't sew. Demonstrations are so fun.
Real world performance.
Yeah.
Stuff
Okay.
happens.
And once I get going, no big deal. And you would be using, I'm going to give you straw needles for this. Okay? Because you'll be using them when you sew the wool. I want you to use a straw needle. It's a very thin needle. It's like half the thick of this one. They're just very thin. And I don't know where you find them.
You can't buy them at Joann's.
No, can't buy them at Joann's. Okay.
John James and
Beading needles
They are
work
John
as
James,
well.
yeah,
They're
exactly.
same. I like them better.
Beading,
Say it again.
beading.
Beading.
Oh, the beading needles. Yes.
Yeah, I have one here.
Oh, good. Well, they're extra long, aren't they?
Well, they have short ones. I have.
Oh, yeah?
I'll find it on.
Okay. Show us your beading needle. Yeah. Maybe
they're
I'll
short.
have you guys start using beading needles instead of John James. I like the
I
John
have some
James.
John James. I should bring it in and see if it's. I have.
Yeah. See if they're
Right
straw
one, yeah.
needles. I bet they are.
What's an assortment? So.
Oh, it's an assortment. Okay. All right. So you just go up one side and down the other.
Okay.
Okay?
What kind
Look
of
at
tape
that.
is
Oh my goodness.
What kind of tape is that?
Oh, this is twill tape. And so you'll want to get some of this. And you only need about 6 inches. So just cut it, and it's a little bit wider for you. And this is not the same twill tape that you're going to put on your jacket. Yours is a little bit thinner, but this is a good one to start with. Okay? So you make your nice little samplers. So you want to probably cut yourself some. And you're good to go. One for you, Karen. Okay.